You are listening to New Vision, Old Ways, the podcast that explores timeless wisdom for the modern mind in a fun, relaxed, and most important, interactive way with you, the listener. I am your host, Tony Marinaccio, and let's get the episode started. In the past, we humans have learned to control the world outside us, but we had very little control over the world inside us. Welcome, everyone, and we are flying high in this episode of New Vision, Old Ways. That quote in the beginning is from Yuval Noah Harari, and it states perfectly what this episode is all about. We will be discussing the concepts from a book called Designing the Mind, The Principles of Psychitecture by Ryan Bush. The reason I referenced flying high is because today we are going high level and digging into how we all can rewire our minds using the concept of psychitecture. I love this book and the accompanying website and all the materials around it, and we will see how life-changing this all can be. But first, I want to take a brief moment to send out a few big thank yous. First, I want to thank a few new subscribers we have, like Robin, John, and Sarah. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. It means a lot, and it is so appreciated. And thank you for going to the website and doing that. Amazing stuff. I am very humbled that you would see the value in this and support us like that. So thank you so much. Second, I want to thank, believe it or not, England and Ireland for jumping on board and listening to the podcast. The positive side to this technology is being able to reach anyone in the world. And what an honor to have my own great USA, Canada, England, and Ireland all listening in. And if you are from any of those great countries, feel free to voice your suggestions to me about this podcast. I'd love to hear your perspectives. And last but not least, since I am doing some thank yous, I'd like to thank Christian Swain, who is a big part of the Pantheon Network, and his main podcast, the Rock and Roll Archaeology Project. It is a huge reason why I not only fell in love with podcasts in general, but it also inspired me to do my own. So to Christian and everyone at the Rock and Roll Archaeology Project and the Pantheon Podcast Network, thank you for all the great work and inspiration. And as they say, keep on a rockin'. And folks, if you are into music, the Rock and Roll Archaeology Project and the Pantheon Network is the place to go. And now, with the thank yous firmly out there, let's get episode 8 started, Designing the Mind. How can we design the mind? Using the principles of psychitecture. And what is psychitecture? To start, the author Ryan Bush walks us through the how, why, and the importance of being in control of our own minds. And using the principles he lays out, we can effectively rewire our brains, allowing us to live the life we desire. And remember, as I also made clear in the previous episode, this is not a book review, as I will be discussing the concepts that the book talks about and relating them to myself and what I see going on in the world today. And in our previous discussions, I have mentioned the principle of rewiring the mind several times, and how many of the principles discussed in the first 7 episodes can be utilized to accomplish this. But in this episode, I will get deeper into how we can actually do this. The author goes to great lengths to help us understand that this is not only feasible to do, but incredibly necessary for all of us in order to live the lives we truly want. Rewiring the mind can not only help us get the success in any area of our lives that we want, but also help with mental well-being and our overall health, and even improve relationships that may otherwise suffer from our negative thinking. So what exactly is psychitecture? Well, let's start with a quote from Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche. He said, "To make ourselves, to shape a form from various elements, that is the task of a sculptor, of a productive human being." That quote forms the basis for the author's definition of his own term, psychitecture. He defines it as a self-directed psychological evolution, the act of deliberately reprogramming your own psychological operating system. Most people don't realize that every moment we are constantly reprogramming our brains, whether we realize it or not. But also, most people just accept the fact that we cannot actually change our brains intentionally or reprogram them at all. But yet, I and the author believe, with a clear understanding, that we can, in fact, change the way we think, that we can reprogram or rewire our brains. We can effectively change our lives, our health, our mental well-being, and live the life we truly desire. Psychitecture, an amalgamation of psychology and architecture, refers to the idea of consciously designing and restructuring our mental and emotional landscapes in much the same way an architect designs and constructs a building. This concept centers around the belief that our minds are malleable and that with intentional effort, we can reshape our mental patterns, beliefs, and behaviors to improve our quality of life. In essence, designing the mind involves using psychological principles to rewire our brains, fostering personal growth, resilience, and an overall mental well-being that many seem to only dream about. Central to the concept of psychitecture is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Neuroplasticity suggests that our experiences, thoughts, and actions can physically alter the structure and function of our brains. This malleability implies that we are not prisoners of our past or genetic predispositions. Rather, we can actively influence our mental states and cognitive processes. As the author states, the mind software can be understood as a system of interconnected and interacting behaviors and tendencies. This system determines who you are and how you live your life. We have the ability to corrupt our minds, or we can embed positive functions and eliminate the undesirable ones. So, where do we start? Well, in order to begin the process of designing the mind, we must be able to step outside of our minds and be able to analyze ourselves effectively. The book gets into greater detail about this than we have time for, but there is a tool that can help us do this. It's metacognition, and this forms the basis for psychitecture. Metacognition is the awareness and understanding of one's thought process and the patterns behind them. The term comes from the Greek word meta, which means beyond or on top of. It is the conscious reflection on one's cognitive activity. It involves assessing and monitoring learning, reflecting on performance, and using cognitive regulation to direct learning. In essence, you are thinking about your own thinking. And as the book points out, you will see that mindfulness, a concept that I discussed in episode 4, can closely relate to metacognition. If you remember, mindfulness is the awareness of one's internal states and surroundings. Mindfulness can help people avoid destructive or automatic habits and responses by learning to observe their thoughts, emotions, and other present moment experiences without judging or reacting to them. This is an incredible thing once you have mastered the concept. And Lao Tzu, remember him from episode 5, the Tao Te Ching? He said, not knowing is true knowledge. Presuming to know is a disease. First realize you are sick, then you can move toward health. That's the awareness we need to begin our journey. So let's concentrate on awareness for a moment. Awareness is the first step in designing the mind. It involves becoming conscious of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, as well as the underlying beliefs and assumptions driving them. Mindfulness meditation is a powerful tool for cultivating awareness. By regularly practicing mindfulness, we can learn to observe our mental processes, gaining insight into habitual patterns that may be detrimental to our well-being. Here's an example. Consider someone who experiences chronic anxiety, and many people do. Through mindfulness, they might become aware that their anxiety often stems from irrational fears about the future. Recognizing this pattern is the first step towards changing it. The book gets into specific ways we could practice mindful meditation, and the author does a great job laying those out for us. So once we are aware of our mental patterns, we can set intentions for how we want to change them. Setting clear, positive intentions directs our focus and energy towards specific goals that might involve affirmations, goal setting, or visualizations. An individual who struggles with low self-esteem might set an intention to build self-compassion. They could use daily affirmations such as, I am worthy of love and respect, to reinforce this intention. And practice. Rewiring the brain requires consistent practice. Just as physical exercise strengthens muscles, mental exercises strengthen new neural pathways. Cognitive behavior techniques, CBT, positive psychology interventions, and habit formation strategies can all be used to reinforce new patterns of thought and behavior. Using CBT, a person might identify and challenge negative self-talk by replacing it with more rational and positive thoughts. Over time, this practice can reduce the frequency and intensity of negative thinking, leading to improved mental health. But remember, this has to become something that we stay aware of and stay as consistent as we can at practicing to recognize the negative and replacing it with the positive until it becomes our dominant way of thinking. If we just dabble in it every now and then, we will find that it will be a constant battle between good and evil, and we will exhaust ourselves fighting that battle instead of reaping the rewards of continuous positive thinking. Maybe you are, or you know someone who that with every difficult circumstances that come your way, you instantly concentrate on the negative. This will most of the time make that circumstance even worse than it is, and solving the issue becomes secondary to the worry, anxiety, and depression that now overwhelms you. But if you had trained your mind to rewire it, to recognize the negative instantly, you could have been able to use your energy to focus on a solution or working your way through grief with resilience and mental strength that you would now have. That could be the difference between living the life you want or living the life that your negative mind is forcing on you. Our environment also plays a crucial role in shaping our mental states. Designing the mind often involves creating a supportive environment that reinforces our intentions and practices. This can include physical spaces, social networks, and lifestyle choices. I stated this in the previous episode about escaping the mind, that we can easily become what we surround ourselves with. You must be willing, with courage, to recognize that and make the changes that are necessary to move forward. An example of this can be to support a new habit of regular exercise. Someone might create a dedicated workspace at home, join a fitness community, or schedule regular workout sessions with a friend. These environmental factors can provide motivation and accountability, or an even more difficult example is when you have people around you who obviously and consistently are bringing you down by reinforcing bad behaviors that are negatively affecting your life. You must then be willing to decrease or, if needed, eliminate your contact with those people. And as lonely as that may become at times, you will attract people who have your best interests at heart, and they will support your growth instead of making sure that you stay where you are for their best interest only. One of the most significant benefits of designing the mind is improved emotional regulation. By becoming aware of emotional triggers and practicing techniques such as deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or mindfulness, individuals can learn to manage their emotional responses more effectively. A person who tends to react with anger in stressful situations might practice deep breathing exercises to calm their nervous system before responding. Over time, this practice can help them develop a more measured and constructive approach to conflict. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." So as you can see, regulating your emotions can have a big effect on your life. And as we look at the population at large, we see so many people unable to regulate their emotions. And we also see the all too often terrible results this can have. At an alarming rate, we see a massive increase in emotionally unstable people, causing harm to themselves and to others. Much of this can be traced to the youth having little to no guidance at times from broken homes. Some, not all, some teachers who appease their students' emotional issues instead of finding ways to help their weak mental state. And when the agenda media and the pressures of social media cloud the mind even further with ridiculous, low-bar information, this terrible combination can wreak havoc with the mind, not allowing for emotional regulation or resilience in times of stress and depression. Our minds need to have the ability to be resilient in these difficult times. And resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity, can also be cultivated through psychitecture. Techniques such as reframing, viewing challenges as opportunities for growth, gratitude practice, And fostering a growth mindset can enhance resilience and allow the mind to make regular, positive thought choices instead of sinking further in the muck with negative thoughts and actions. An example of this can be someone who faces a significant setback at work. You can use reframing to view the experience as a chance to develop new skills or explore different career paths. By focusing on potential growth rather than the loss, they can maintain a more positive and proactive outlook. I know from personal experience that when I look at any seemingly negative situation as a learning experience and use it for personal growth, I have been able to see positive options that are coming my way. And in most cases, it leads me to a bigger and better thing that I never expected, even in relationships, and enhancing relationships in an age when so many are stuck in a device rather than being comfortable around people can force people to have poor to no positive, healthy relationships at all. Designing the mind can improve interpersonal relationships by fostering empathy, effective communication, and conflict resolution skills. Very important. Mindfulness and active listening can help individuals become more present and attentive in their interactions, leading to deeper and more meaningful connections. In a relationship, practicing active listening, fully concentrating, understanding, responding, and remembering what the other person says can reduce misunderstandings and build stronger emotional bonds. Being aware enough to put the phone away while doing this is a huge step, and yes, you will be okay too. It's actually a relief once you get used to it. And Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, said, "Nothing can harm you as much as your own thoughts unguarded." We can easily become prisoners of our own thoughts. I and the author believe that instead of being a prisoner of our thoughts, we can become the architect of our thoughts and build our minds to become a powerful machine that can give us confidence, knowledge, and willpower to accomplish our dreams. This book will guide you step by step in that process. The accompanying website, free materials, and other books available will be a great guide to design the mind and build the life you desire. We have only scratched the surface with this, and there is much more information the book gives us. But I am a firm believer that we can improve our mental health ourselves by being open-minded enough to realize that we can reprogram our minds and become who we really want to be. But if you are like me and many others, something as simple as worrying can derail us in our quest. An 8th century philosopher named Shantideva, a Buddhist monk, once said, "If the problem can be solved, why worry? If the problem cannot be solved, worrying will do you no good." As the book states, if you can program your software to remember the futility of worry as soon as it rises, you can gradually eliminate it from your emotional vocabulary. The mere fact that worrying takes away so much energy, both physically and mentally from us, should be a top priority for us to reprogram our minds to be more resilient and all but eliminate worry. I know I have wasted so much time in my own life letting worry paralyze me and shutting me down at times that if I had been able to, better use that time to think clearly and focus on moving forward, who knows what I could have accomplished. Luckily, I have been able to improve upon removing worry for the most part, and it has been an incredible help to me. But that process is still ongoing, and thankfully I now have the tools to work on that when I am aware it is an issue. Abraham Maslow said, "One can choose to go back toward safety or forward toward growth. Growth must be chosen again and again. Fear must be overcome again and again." I alluded to this in the introduction episode to this entire podcast series, episode 1, that the purpose of this podcast is to learn and grow together. We all have different circumstances that shape who we are, but the concepts we talk about, episode to episode, are meant to help all of us have the courage, the willpower, the knowledge, and resilience we need to reshape ourselves, our minds, and our lives. We have the power to do this if we focus on the right things. And I believe that the author Ryan Bush is onto something here. If you are not the person you ultimately want to be, then make the changes necessary to become the you want to be. Designing the mind through the principles of psychitecture empowers individuals to take control of their mental and emotional well-being. By leveraging neuroplasticity and employing strategies such as mindfulness, intention setting, consistent practice, and environmental design, we can reshape our minds to create a better life. This process requires commitment and effort, but the potential rewards, increased resilience, emotional regulation, and enriched relationships are well worth the investment. As we learn to consciously architect our inner worlds, we open the door to profound personal transformation and a more fulfilling existence. I highly recommend this book, but also I would love for you to get excited about the potential of designing your mind and realizing the potential you knew was always there. I truly believe that we are all here for a reason, but some ignore that reason and take paths that are destructive and, well, evil, while others who realize their potential and strive to live a great life can accomplish so much and live a fulfilling and very happy life. The writer Tim Urban states, "Your entire life runs on the software in your head. Why wouldn't you obsess over optimizing it?" And yet, not only do most of us not obsess over our own software, most of us don't even understand our own software, how it works, or why it works that way. So what Tim Urban said is so true. Ignoring the fact that your software can be programmed for greatness will only lead to an unsatisfied existence and allow our circumstances to dictate your future. I know it's easier said than done sometimes, but never let your circumstances determine who you are or your future. Rather, program your mind to overcome your circumstances and carve out your own path, a path you were meant to travel. It's in your power, and I hope these episodes help you realize it and energize you to take that step towards happiness. I hope you enjoyed the discussion on Ryan Bush's book, Designing the Mind, The Principles of Psychitecture. It is a book I thoroughly enjoyed and I encourage you to read. So what do you think? Here is where to get a hold of us and let us know. These are in the show notes as always, but here they are. You can email us at newvisionoldways@gmail.com. You can find us on what was Twitter, now X. I promise I'll stop saying that at some point. And that's at New Vision Old Way. Remember, there's no S on the end of that one. So it's at New Vision Old Way. Find us on Facebook at New Vision Space Old Ways Podcast, and you should easily find us. And as a reminder, these are still new platforms for us and expanding all the time. So we need your help to get the flow going with the community. And last but not least, if you could do me a huge favor and subscribe to us, like us, follow us, leave a review on whatever platform you found us on, that would be so appreciated. And that will also help secure guests that we will be booking in the future. And I can't wait to get your input. And I also can't wait until we get together for the next episode of New Vision Old Ways. Until then, be safe, be cool to each other, and let's change the world.